G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Ben Bressington from Behavior Sales. He's based in Florida, United States of America. Thanks for your time today, Ben.
Hey, super excited to be here, man.
Good to have another Aussie accent on the cast, even though you're now based in USA. You're originally from Queensland, aren't you?
I am it, but my accent is certainly not as thick as yours, but give me 30 minutes and it might chunk out a little bit.
Yeah, you might revert to the Aussie accent.
Yeah.
Let's start with how we know each other. We connected on Matchmaker, which is not a dating site. It kind of is, I guess, but for podcasts and guests to come on the podcast. So really appreciate your time today.
Hey, my pleasure.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So what we do is we help people predict personality and use that personality intelligence to actually improve their sales conversion. So our main focus is helping salespeople to improve their sales conversions and sales conversations and shorten their sales cycle. And that's what we do. We offer two types of products with that. We actually offer a product where we call Behavior Insights, where effectively we can convert an email address into a personality type. So therefore, salespeople don't have to fumble through an approach. They can literally identify what somebody's personality is and then close them based on the process and the model we offer. And then we offer our sales insights, where we literally can take live call transcriptions and provide real-time feedback of what the hell's going on in that sales conversation. Do you have influence over the person you're talking to? So it's a SaaS business model where we offer those services, and obviously you've got consulting and training that comes with that. But yeah, that's what's happening and how we're growing.
Great. No, I love it. It's much needed in business. But just going back, that first offering, did you say using a person's email, say a prospect's email address, you can pick up a lot about the person before you even speak with them?
100%, yeah. So we can convert an email address into a full-blown personality profile. So I knew that I can't send my leads a 150 disc questionnaire personality assessment. They'd be like, Ben, piss off, right? They're like, go do your own damn job, right? So the thing is I'm like, well, how the hell do we get smarter with this? And I'm like, well, I wanted to be able to improve my sales and marketing response, right? Like there's a crap ton of noise out there. Most sales reps I hear every day is like, how the hell do I actually stand out?
Yep.
I'm like, well, how do we take segmentation of our list a little bit further? Because I'm like, well, hold on. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I had the thought of what if I could segment my lists based on their personality type, so I can actually change the message, right? So we did that. We can even do somebody's Twitter account. We can do somebody's LinkedIn profile. And we're literally talking to social media companies who interview people for reality TV shows who want us to actually analyze somebody's social media profile to see if they're authentic. Do they actually have influence over their list? Like, yes, you've got 50 million followers, but what influence do you actually have over these people? Or are they just bots that nobody gives a crap about, right?
Yep.
Because if they're about to invest a crap ton of money on you, they want to understand, well, is there the reality of an ROI?
Yep.
So
love it.
Yeah.
And so
does that make sense?
You use DISC as your behavioral model, I guess?
We use DISC and Ocean. So Ocean's called Big Five, depending on how you refer it. But we've simplified it all down, because the reality is most people at some point in their life have done a DISC assessment. If you've ever done Tony Robbins, they move about 30,000 assessments a month.
Wow.
They don't call it DISC, but they move about that many assessments a month. At the end of the day, I realized that most people forget what the hell they are. So the thing is we use the 4-bird model. In Australia, there's actually a company called Tick. What makes people tick? Des Hunt actually started it a long time ago. So we actually use that model. So I actually bring some of this Australian influence back to this American company and actually go, hey, we like to make it easy, because with all this personality stuff, my salespeople didn't want to dive into it and take 5 days to master this crap. Like I've got literally 15 minutes. I need to get them on the phone. So how do I have them learn this in 15 minutes and be effective?
Yeah.
So we use the 4-bird model as our core model.
Yep.
So anyone can learn this off the street.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan of DISC in management, tailoring your communication style to suit the other person. I'm a high D. If I'm talking with a high C, they're conscientious. They're usually, well, they're introverted and task orientated, and they like to receive information and communicate very differently to other high Ds. Like we can just
100%.
fire off, make quick decisions with hardly any information, whereas a high C, typically accountants, engineers, etc., are the roles they often feel most aligned with. They want all the data a week before you have a 5-minute conversation with them, for example. So,
they want the white paper, they want the research, and like as you said, they're the person that when they say I'm going to think about it, they're literally going to bloody well think about it. Yes. And most salespeople get trained, just push harder, close them.
That's
and
right.
They don't realize, hold on, like you're missing it. Like you are literally going to kill that deal 100%.
Yeah, you're going to piss the person off because you haven't stopped to think, how did they like to communicate? And is it different to the way I naturally communicate? So firstly, understanding your own communication style and behavior, innate behavior, and then putting yourself in the prospects or the lead's shoes and changing some minor things in the way that you communicate would be hugely powerful in a sales environment and much, much needed, I think, what you're doing.
Yeah, well, our big goal is effectively to be able to take your leads in your CRM and literally before your sales rep actually contacts them, we've actually mapped the right personality for the sales rep to the person that they're going to be talking to.
Yep.
So therefore we can improve the conversions out of the gate, because you're not going to put the Ds with the Cs who are they just clash like oil and water. And most people don't realize it. Like, and you'll say it to some people and they're like, yeah, there's some people that I just hate talking to. I'm like, well, that's because they're speaking English or speaking French, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. How did you start out?
I've always been in this self-help communication game. I started in the world of criminology, right? So I went to Bond Uni down there, started doing criminology, human profiling. Funny enough, I applied that to sales and marketing. So I was on gamification for years, and like always, how do I incentivize, motivate, empower people? And like you study human personas much more deeply than somebody else. I was using it with my own sales team for one of my other companies. And it was just like, I wanted to improve their performance. And we were doing a whole lot of stuff like everyone else was doing. I'm like, yeah, but this personality thing kept nudging me. I'm like, how the hell do we apply personality? Like no one at the time was doing personality-based scripting, personality-based closing conversations, personality awareness, and actually bringing that intelligence. And I couldn't find any way to actually anyone that could do it with me or for me. So I'm like, well, I just got to do it. Right. And then, so I started doing it. We started getting better results for our sales process. And then I started showing other people and clients what we were doing. They're like, how the hell, what the hell are you doing this? And I showed them the analysis that we get from after a call, where I can actually see who had influence over who on the call, what everyone's needs were. So I can actually speak to different people's needs. I can actually show them if you have influence over somebody, because if you don't have influence, when you go to do a close, it's nearly impossible. Like, and that's when the sales rep would literally start collapsing. Like we could actually see the data on collapsing their offering, their price. And I'm like, why the hell are you just bloody giving the damn thing away? Like we're not in business to give the thing away. So yeah, it kind of just grew from there. That's how we kind of evolved out of our own need into people then saying, hey, this is actually really valuable.
Well, even that one of those first steps you do is hugely, hugely powerful, where you match someone on your sales team to the personality or behavioral type of the lead or the prospect. That would put you streets ahead, just that one move.
Yeah. I want to get it to the point where literally your CRM will have 4 different types of emails. And to be honest, you might only have 3, or you might have 2, because you're like, crap, I don't want to deal with these other 2 personality types. They don't fit our business, our onboarding model. They increase our churn rate. Like that's another thing. We can literally predict churn, and because of what they call linguistic style matching, which is quite fascinating.
Yep, great. And what year did you start out, and how old were you in business?
In business, I was 16 when I started in Australia in business, trying to sell golden cane palm trees on the side of a busy road in Brisbane, and trying to work out why the hell cars at 60 kilometers an hour weren't stopping for a kid with a white styrofoam box with shitty looking dead trees.
Yeah. And what about this business, behavior sales? What year did you start that?
Started this last year. So we've had a rapid year of growth.
Yep. Great.
So product iteration and then market release. We officially started releasing in the market actually only this year.
Yep. Okay, great. And so how old were you last year when you started?
Last year. So right now I've turned 39.
Yep. Okay, great. Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business?
Yeah, so when we talk about licensing, we're in the first 30 days of our execution of our launch, we're going to cross over 100,000 people we've licensed the technology to through distribution partners.
Yep.
So one of the big things we went to is we looked at how do we get mass distribution first, and yeah, they'll cross over 100,000 people onboarded in the system probably over the next 90 days. So we've got several of the world's biggest assessment providers coming on board with the technology and licensing it.
Yep. And so that, as in licenses, they're all paid licenses?
Yeah. It's all paid. They're paying the license. We're becoming the technology backbone for their system.
Yep.
We're integrating with a leading sales CRM. And we're literally going to be providing them the intelligence built into their CRM. That CRM is going to actually close.io. So that CRM is once again another distribution channel for us. There's tens of thousands of clients who use that system who we're literally natively integrating this as a full solution. So you can expect big things, and the sales world is really going to hear about this because probably in the next 30 days or a few days after this podcast comes out, over 400,000 people are going to be getting slammed with this content from that vendor alone.
Right. No, I haven't used close.io, but I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, very impressive system, particularly for sales teams and salespeople, right? Sales CRM.
Yeah. And what about number of team members when you started and what you're up to now, full-time equivalents?
Yeah, we started with 1.5 people, really. Now we're at 7, and we're just actually rebuilding our stack at the moment to optimize our growth. Because when we're scaling and we're going to be dealing with that many licenses, we're like, crap, our technology has to handle. We're going to see in excess of 100,000 conversations a day.
Yep, fantastic. When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Haven't really felt that way yet. I'm waiting for that emotion to kick in, but I've got goals and numbers, but the company's still young. There's still a lot of moving factors. When I start seeing that number of hitting that 100,000 conversations a month, 100,000 conversations a week, that's where my goals of like, okay, we've really started to crack this, because I do want to impact a million conversations a day is the number where I'm like, okay, we've really cracked this, we've got this, and now we're going somewhere.
Well, that's the next question. What does success look like to you? Is it that hitting that 1 million a day number?
Yeah, 100%. And well, success is obviously the lifestyle balance with that. Like I designed this as a completely remote team. We work all around the world. We take time off and we enjoy ourselves. So success is just not one number, but it's multiple metrics for me.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
Be aware of your own beliefs. It's your beliefs that'll sabotage what you are going through. And when you talk about growth, like, hey, I could have gone down the track of onboarding 10 clients, and I'm like, well, how do I onboard 10,000 or 1,000 of them or 100,000 of them in one go? So I'm like, I had to ask myself different questions and have different beliefs. And we literally did that using a prototype. Didn't even have the final base product for that offering. So if I had the belief of I got to build that product out before I can show it to anyone, I would have wasted a whole lot of time, gone in the wrong direction, had no feedback. And I've made those mistakes in the past.
How did you fund the business?
Bootstrapped at this point in time. The more people I talk to, the more capital offers I get, which is quite interesting. So right now it's bootstrapped, and our friends at Visa.
Yep. Right. So no other investors?
Not at this point in time, but that may change in a few days.
Yep. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yes, 100%.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Not getting feedback fast enough and not being able to iterate on that feedback. With any software development, if you have the wrong platform stack or the wrong technology, you get feedback from somebody, but it could be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month before that iteration is back live again. And in today's world, it's too long, too slow. Like, you captivate somebody's focus and attention, they bloody well may not wait a month for you, right? Like, they got everything else that's going on. So the thing is speed is key. And it's one of the reasons why we're retooling our development stack, so we can literally be iterating within hours not days or weeks. So if you're thinking about that and running a development team, really, really choose your solutions very well, because they cannot rapidly iterate, but also not dependent on one developer. Because if anything happens with that, we've seen COVID, we've seen the challenges that creates, we've seen other challenges that are coming around. Like, yeah, you can see stuff fall over really quickly.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Financial management. Understanding the P&Ls, the businesses, the cash flows, understanding the customer value, and actually how do I maximize customer value so my customers are funding my growth and not me.
What have you enjoyed least about managing fast growth?
The rapid learning and having to say no to things that take you off track. So I'm a D-type personality, excited by opportunity. First thing we did when we started rolling this out, getting feedback from everyone, and they, hey, can we use it for this? Can we use it for that? Can we use it for this? Before I knew it, we had 30 different applications we were working on in new case studies. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Where are we? Where are we going? Each one of these is a different market. Each one of these is a different application. Each one of these requires different resources. What am I saying no to? And then you kind of have to sit back and realize, like, where is most value for us right now? And growth is created in a vacuum. And most people don't realize that.
Have you read the book Crossing the Chasm?
I have. I've listened to it on the audiobook. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's specifically for the tech space. I think it was written in the 90s. Yeah. What do you love most about growing a small business?
The challenge, and every day can be different. But starting to love more the routine of getting the work done.
Yeah.
Well and truly tired of just people who talk about it.
Yeah. What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
It's okay to say no.
Yep. I certainly went through that early in my business career as well. Going 22 years now, and I wish I'd have learned that lesson a lot earlier.
Well, you also get a whole lot of people saying no in the hustle, right? So yes, you got to say yes to everything, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, no, you really don't want to say yes to everything.
No. What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Work out, take time for themselves to exercise, work themselves physically, because how you treat yourself physically will determine how you get through the day.
Yep. Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course and add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
So one of the things we really got into was assessing the personalities of the people coming on. I always had the methodology when I was hiring people: hire 3 people and you'll end up with 1 good one, because you'll end up with people leaving, particularly when it's remote. So I was really focusing now more on what motivations is it the best person, and instead of being cheap on a person, how do I find the best possible person?
Yeah.
Not, hey, yeah, like this person's 10 grand more a year or going to be 50 grand more a year, but like, hey, their results can be chalk and cheese, right? Like, big significant in that difference. So hiring people, I had to get really clear on that ROI factor of like, what will they produce? Where if you go always minimum, I'm going to outsource to cheaper VAs or cheaper people, you end up paying for that.
You do
somewhere.
See, isn't the gap's huge between an A and a B player, isn't it? Just it's stark when you build out that team of A players, and you might have a B player still there, but the difference is stark.
The performance difference that you go, oh yeah, but they're way more money. I'm like, yeah, but like some of the A players we're onboarding, like one of them has his last 5 companies he's been involved in, he's literally sold them all out in excess of $50 million in less than 24 months, most of them. One of the people I'm getting mentored from, like her last 9 companies are all in excess of $100 million, and she's 24 months or less. And for all of those companies in which they get exited, like that's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Like they know how to fast track. She costs a shit ton of money.
Yep.
But the advice is
well worth it.
Right?
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Find out what rewards your people. Your people will tell you based on their language, on how they communicate, and you don't have to offer monetary rewards for everything. Sometimes offering a book, offering access to a course, buying a new computer for somebody if they've got a crappy computer, or buying a webcam, getting them a t-shirt. Like, there's all these little things that most people kind of dismiss. Getting them tickets for their family to go away for the weekend or do something can get you so much more than giving them an extra $100 or $500 for the week or something like that. You'll be amazed how small tokens on a regular basis, like, really empower people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Low economic cost to the business, but high perceived value to the team member. Yeah.
100%.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Poorly. It goes and it ebbs and flows, right? I set myself a goal of cycling 150 miles a week. And that's what I try to hit most weeks. Trying to balance that, always trying to it's easy to sit down at the computer and just start working and thinking, oh, I'm doing the most important thing. But the most important thing is making sure I'm mentally prepared to take on the day.
Yep.
Because the days I don't work out, the days I don't exercise, I can tell you my performance does suffer. Just fueling yourself on caffeine doesn't mean you're actually performing, which a lot of people in the rapid business growth kind of get wrong. Like, I used to drink a
shit ton of coffee.
Yeah, I used to have like 10 cups of coffee a day, but I also used to drink like 6 Monster energy drinks a day.
My God.
The big ones I'd get from Costco. So I would get a case of 24 and I'd be lucky if that lasted 2 days. On top of my coffee addiction. And like, that wasn't effective, right? So I'm like, balance is super important.
Chest.
Well, I thought that's when I was getting stuff done. I thought that was flow.
Flow, yeah. I used to, at one point, drink 12 espressos a day. We made the mistake. One of my business partners in Melbourne bought a really nice coffee machine because he loves his coffee, but he's obviously got a lot more strength at not walking to the coffee machine every half an hour than I.
I used to do that, yeah. Yep.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's ongoing. It's my biggest investment.
Yep. So important. You mentioned one mentor you've had. Any other mentors or coaches along the way?
Yeah, always dealing with a lot of them. A lot of people have had the success I've wanted, but also people have made the mistakes and the failures, because you can also learn more from that. Like, where did things go wrong? And most people aren't willing to go and ask someone, hey, how would you do it again? What mistakes did you make? Like, tell me about that. Like, what were the metrics you used for that? Like, you can get some fascinating detail from that and learning the lessons of others so you don't have to deal with it, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. Success is a poor teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
I have a board of advisors. We're working on a board of directors at the moment. Yeah, it's always very important. That outside opinion is critical, because you can't see what you can't see.
Yep. All right, Ben, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Focus. You can't be the kitchen sink.
Yep.
So what's a hell yes, what's a hell no, and create a schedule for stuff like that. Yeah.
Favorite business book would just help you the most?
There's a lot. I'm a big Audible reader. Never Split the Difference. I've been listening to a hell of a lot recently.
Yep.
And that one's always good.
Yeah, I think I've just added that one to my list. Someone else mentioned that recently.
Yeah.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
The podcasts I've been going through recently, the one that I'm kind of like just consuming like crazy is The Game.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Hormozy, his book, $100 Million Offer.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And I highly recommend people to go through that, because if you have a shitty offer, this whole thing is backwards.
Yep. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business apart from sales behavior?
Apart from that, getting the right advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no real tool. Like, if you've got to go down and sit with someone who's had the success you want, because they can tell you all the tools on the sun. Look, but the AppSumo gives you 10 new tools a day. It's not about buying the tools. It's bloody about using the right ones. Like, otherwise every tool is a freaking hammer.
Yeah, that's right. Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Sit down and do the work.
Great. Thanks for your time today, Ben. I think the audience got a lot of value out of what you shared with us. Starting out 1.5 people, now around 7, and sounds like we'll have to have you back on in a year or so, because this thing to me sounds like it's going to pop. It's going to go really, really big.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.